The stars were silent. In the middle of deep space, far from trade routes and sensor stations, an old satellite spun slowly. Its surface was covered in dust and ice. It hadn't sent a signal in years, until tonight. A sudden spark of life blinked. From its core, a tiny red light. Then another. Then a sound, weak and broken, cracked across the emptiness. If anyone can hear this. The voice was soft. Ah! A child's voice. They're burning everything. Mom said the sky's on fire. Static cut in. Then came the sound of explosions in the background. Screams. A crash. The child gasped. Please tell someone. Tell them Earth needs help. We're still here. The feed cut off. For a few seconds, there was only silence again. Then the signal repeated again and again. That was all it took, the council thought. The Terrans were gone. That Earth was finished. No one had survived. They were wrong. Captain Vora stood alone at the edge of the command deck. Before her, the massive windows of the ship stretched wide, showing the cold stretch of stars. Her black uniform reflected in the glass. Silver stripes marked her as fleet commander. Her face was calm, unreadable, but her fists were tight at her sides. She had just heard the message. The same one that had played every day for the last year. A recording sent from a dead satellite near Jupiter. It wasn't new, but it still hit like a knife. She turned to the others on the bridge. Her voice was quiet but strong. Play it again. The officer beside her, a young man with dark eyes and a shaved head, nodded. He tapped a few keys. More. Sky's on fire. Vora listened. Behind her, the rest of the crew stood in silence. Most had heard the message hundreds of times, but they never talked during it. It was a rule. It's unspoken, because this was the last voice from Earth, because this was the reason they were out here. She turned to the crew. That recording was picked up by the Reclaimer Scout 2 cycles ago. We've confirmed its origin. Real. A murmur passed through the bridge. Earth isn't dead, she said. Now the silence was deeper, heavy. They didn't finish the job. One of the officers stepped forward. His name was Charn, an old Marine with a scar across his jaw. Then we go back? We hit them now? Vora shook her head slowly. No, not yet. We're not strong enough. Charn's fists clenched. Captain, we're not ready, she said. But we will be. She pointed to the center of the bridge. A hologram blinked on. It showed a massive star map. At the edge of it was a blinking red point Earth. Vora touched another point far across the map. It glowed blue. Strike. Here first, the Sevrok listening post. It's how the council tracks us. We blind them, then we move. She paused. They thought they could betray us and leave us to die. Now we leave nothing behind. 10 years ago, humanity had been the heroes. The swarm war had nearly ended all life in the galaxy. The insectoid swarm had devoured 23 worlds. None of the Council's great fleets could stop them, but Earth could. Human ships didn't. Rely on clean energy. They used unstable fission drives and raw fusion cores. Human soldiers didn't run from pain. They ran into fire. It was Terran Marines who boarded the Swarm Queen ship. Terran hackers who broke its hive mind. That soaked the final battlefield. And when the war was over, the Council voted to deny humanity a seat. Too violent, they said. Too primitive, they blockaded Earth. Cut off the colonies. Shut down the relays. Even sent silent drones to contain the threat. In the dark of space, Earth was slowly choked. But they didn't finish the job. The Iron Will was not a new ship. It was old, loud, and heavy. A dreadnought built before the Swarm War. Rust and carbon burns scarred its outer hull. But inside it was alive with heat and light. It was also the last of its kind. Vora had taken command of it 5 years ago. She had gathered the scattered remains of Earth's lost fleets, abandoned cruisers, forgotten gunships, rogue I-controlled vessels, pirates who still flew the Terran flag. Together they formed the Black Line, humanity's last real strike. Force now, they were more than survivors. They were a weapon. In the hangar bays of the Iron Will, engineers worked in silence. They repaired broken drones, refueled fighters, checked pulse cannons and kinetic railguns. They were preparing for war. The Sevrok system was quiet. 3 moons orbited a cold gas giant. On one of the moons, the Council had built a sensor Arabig, enough to scan a dozen star sectors. It was how they watched for pirates, smugglers, and any Terran fleet that might still be hiding. That was about to end. The Iron Will dropped from slipspace with no warning. It didn't hail, didn't speak, it just opened fire. The first strike came from its forward railgun. A single slug of compressed metal, the size of a school bus, slammed into the side of the Sevrok base at near light speed. There was no explosion, just vapor. The base's shield generators tried to activate, but by then it was too late. Terran assault pods rained from the sky like falling stars. Each one carried 6 Marines. By the time the Council guards realized what was happening, the humans were inside. It was fast. Too fast. The entire battle lasted 7 minutes. When it was over, Council base was a smoking ruin. The sensor arrays were torn apart. The command center was cracked open. Single message was left, broadcast on all Council frequencies. We are not finished. We are the Terran Union. We are coming back. Captain Vora sat alone in her quarters. After the battle, a screen showed reports from the strike. No human deaths. Enemy wiped out. It should have felt like victory, but she didn't smile. She stared at the old photograph on her desk. A girl with short hair, bright eyes, smile too big for her face. Her daughter, gone now, probably killed in the fall of Earth, or maybe still hiding somewhere. Maybe she was the girl in the recording. Vora didn't know. She had no proof, but she had hope, and that was enough to burn a galaxy down, back in Council space. Panic spread fast. The Terrans were alive, active, organized. By one Council, worlds began to shut their ports. Fleets were recalled. Trade was stopped. Fear crept into their bones because they remembered what humans could do, and now. They were angry. In a dark chamber at the heart of the Council's capital, 5 alien leaders stood around a black table. The high speaker of the Threx clicked his mandibles nervously. They destroyed Sevrok in minutes. That base had over 6,000 guards. Another counselor, a tall, silken creature from the Jalari people, hissed, "We told you not to push them after the war. They were wild. You fed the fire. They must be erased," the high speaker said. "How?" another counselor asked. "They vanish. Their ships move without trace. Their weapons aren't natural." No one spoke for a long moment. Then the oldest counselor, an ancient being with silver skin and cold eyes, spoke. "Then we do what we should have done long ago." He leaned forward. "We burn Earth. For real this time, but Earth was not. Sleeping beneath its blackened skies, deep under the surface, something stirred. Old machines. Powered by human will, ancient bunkers, humming with life. A new signal pulsed into the dark, stronger than the last. Not a call for help. Not this time. Just one message. Simple. Final. We remember. A lone freighter drifted through the void. Its engines were quiet. The lights were dim. Inside, the crew moved carefully, whispering, like something was watching them. They were smugglers. Runners for the black market. They didn't follow Council rules. That's why they were out here in the Outer Rim, far from patrols. Far from anyone, at least. That's what they thought. "Captain, we found something," the pilot said. His voice cracked with static over the old radio. "What kind of something?" The captain asked. I'm not sure. It's big. No signal. Just floating." Captain came to the cockpit. Outside the window was a massive shape, almost invisible in the dark. At first, it looked like a piece of space junk. But then, the lights hit metal. A hull, guns, towers, a warship, old, human. It was drifting like a dead thing. No power. No signs of life, but even dead, it was terrifying. The hull markings were still there, faded but clear. TNS Burning Star, Terran Navy ship, didn't they all get wiped out? The pilot whispered. The captain didn't answer. They got closer. That's when they saw the airlock. It was open, and the beacon next to it. Green. Someone was inviting them in. Captain Vora watched from a hidden console deep inside the iron will. A small screen showed footage from the smuggler ship. Their faces, their fear, their curiosity good. This was the trap. Around her, a small team of officers waited. They were quiet, focused. Boarding in 3 minutes, the tech officer said. Should we stop them? Vora shook her head. No, let them come. The smuggler ship docked. The crew stepped into the dark corridor of the derelict ship. Flashlights swept over old steel walls and broken cables. Dust hung in the air. The silence was thick, like something ancient was sleeping. One of them touched. A control panel. It lit up. That's when the door slammed. Shut behind them. All the lights turned on, and voices filled the halls. Human voices. Who are you? One smuggler shouted. From the shadows, Terran Marines stepped out, weapons ready. They didn't fire, they didn't speak, they just stared. You're. In restricted space, one of the Marines finally said, Identify yourselves, we were traitors. We thought the ship was abandoned. Vora's voice came through the intercom. Cold, this ship is part of the Ghost Fleet. You are now part of it. The smugglers were stunned. Ghost Fleet? That's a myth. Vora appeared on a screen, her face expressionless. It was. Not anymore. The smugglers were brought to a dark room filled with maps and holograms. Fleet movement charts. Council. Bases, shipyard coordinates. Every inch of Council territory mapped and marked. You're Terrans, the smuggler captain said slowly. Correct. Vora answered. I thought you were all dead. We should be. Why aren't you? She looked at him. Because we're not finished? The captain swallowed hard. What do you want with us? Vora nodded toward the map. You've been through systems the Council forgot. You know, the cracks, the blind spots. So we need a way through them. You're planning something. We're taking everything back. The smuggler looked down at the map, then back at her. You're going to start a war. No, Vora said. We're going to end one. Far away, on a moon called Red Hollow, Council patrol was making their rounds. They weren't expecting trouble. The moon was quiet. A mining outpost long since closed. There's nothing there but rocks and machines. Until the machines started moving. One patrol scout tapped his visor. Command, do you read? Something's wrong down here. The ground is shaking. A voice answered. Shaking, it's a moon, I know. But wait, the feed cut. In orbit, the Council warship above Red Hollow picked up strange energy signatures, spikes of heat. Movement underground, then a burst of radio interference. Blocked all comms, and then the sky split open. From the shadow side of the moon, 3 Terran ships emerged. Black holes, no ID codes. No warnings. They opened fire before the Council ship. Could react? Missiles? EMP bursts? Boarding drones? The battle lasted under 4 minutes. After it ended, a single message was left on a repeating loop. System cleared. Red Hollow belongs to Terra. Back aboard the Iron Will, Vora stood in front. Of a larger map now, more red marks. Red Hollow was just the beginning. So far, her fleet had struck 6 Council outposts, 2 sensor stations, 1 listening post. All erased. The Council kept trying to cover it up, but rumors were spreading. People were whispering in stations and ports. The Terrans are still alive. They're building something. Coming. Good, let them whisper. Let fear do half the work. One of her officers, a young woman named Idris, walked up. Captain, we've received another message. From Mars. Vora's eyes narrowed. Show me. The screen flickered. A man's face appeared. Dust-covered. Tired. But alive. This is Commander Roth of the Martian Vault. We've survived. Is intact? And we're ready. Vora didn't speak for a long moment. Then she smiled just slightly. Finally, she turned to her crew. Prepare a slip jump to Mars. Mars had been bombed during the betrayal. The Council had rained fire down on its cities, killed millions, cracked the surface, left it for dead. But not everything died. Beneath the surface, in ancient bunkers, humans survived. They dug deeper, hid their tech, hid their weapons. They called it Project Backfire. A collection of experimental devices so dangerous that even Terran High Command had shut it down years before the Swarm War. Now was humanity's. Ace. When the Iron Will arrived in Mars orbit, it didn't land. It disappeared into the planet. Underground hangars opened like jaws. Tunnels lit with red lights. Old machines rumbled to life. They had been waiting. When Vora stepped off her ship and walked into the Martian command center, Commander Roth saluted her. "I thought you'd be dead by now," he said. "I thought the same about you," she replied. They shook hands. Then Roth led her deeper into the vault. He showed her backfire. A small black cube sat in a chamber lined with radiation shielding. It pulsed with strange energy. "What is it?" she asked. Roth looked at it with tired eyes. "Something that can kill a planet without firing a shot. How? It eats gravity." Vora stared at the cube. "Can it be controlled?" "We think so." "Good," she said. Then she turned to her officers. "Load it. We'll find a target." Another station erased. The Council called an emergency meeting. The High Speaker slammed a claw on the table. "They're terrorists. They're soldiers," another alien said. "Soldiers we betrayed. They would have grown too powerful. They were powerful. That's why they saved us. And we thank them by trying to wipe them out." "Have to stop them," the speaker snapped. "How?" No one answered. Then a voice came through the chamber doors. "You don't." Everyone turned. An old alien, once a council admiral, stepped forward. He had fought beside humans in the Swarm War. His eyes were cold. "They're not fighting to win. They're fighting because they already lost. They're not looking for peace. They're here to bury you." Back on Mars, Vora sat in her quarters, alone. The lights were low. She listened to the child's message again. The one from the satellite. "If anyone can hear this, we're still here." She whispered the words to herself. Then she looked at the cube sitting in the center of the room. Backfire, the ultimate weapon. She pressed a button on her console. Across space, Terran ships received a single coded message. Phase 2 begins now. Prepare for full deployment. The Terran Union was done hiding. Now they were going to show the galaxy. What happened when you betrayed the last humans in the stars? The station never stood a chance. It was a refueling depot, floating in a quiet orbit around the ice planet Velkarnine. There were no weapons, no shields. Just workers, miners, and a few transport ships docked for fuel. They didn't expect war. Not here, not from them. The first thing they saw was the shadow. A long black shape moving in low orbit. It blocked out the stars. No signal, no broadcast. Just presence. Then came the lights red, pulsing. Then came the sound, not an explosion. A scream. A deep, vibrating howl that echoed through every speaker, even the ones turned off. The humans had arrived. They didn't need to fire a single shot because this attack wasn't physical. It was a message. And the Council heard it loud. And clear on board the Iron Will, Captain Vora watched the broadcast with a cold expression. They'd used a low-frequency psychological weapon project, Siren designed to make targets freeze in fear. No harm done. No one killed. Yet, results. She asked quietly. Commander Idris, standing beside her, checked the feed. Total blackout. The station went dark after 30 seconds. Emergency beacons active. Council response team en route. Casualties? None. We held back. Just a warning. Vora nodded. Good, let them know we're not monsters yet. She looked out the window at the stars. Next time, we won't be so gentle. Across council space, panic bloomed like wildfire. It wasn't just the attacks anymore. It was the precision. The Terrans were everywhere systems thought secure, planets believed safe, routes considered protected. And yet, their ship slipped through every wall, because they knew the system better than anyone, because they built it, and now they were unbuilding it, piece by piece, fleet by fleet, base by base. The Council had underestimated them once. Now they were terrified of them, but they didn't show it. Not yet. Instead, they did what politicians do best. They lied. "This is not war," the High Speaker said in a broadcast. "These are isolated terrorist attacks. We will respond with appropriate force." But even as he spoke, Council ships were falling back to homeworlds, abandoning outposts, pulling in their borders, like a nervous animal tucking its tail between its legs. Back in the Terran vaults on Mars, Project Backfire was fully online. The weapon or gravity shearing cube the size of a backpack had been installed into a stealth drone. Once activated, it could erase a ship, a base, or a small moon by collapsing space itself. But Vora hadn't used it, not yet. Not until she had a target that deserved it. She had one in mind. The Forge. A massive orbital factory where the Council built its dreadnoughts. Hidden inside a gas giant's atmosphere. Thought to be untouchable. That made it perfect. On the command deck of the Iron Will, the crew studied the Forge layout, floating deep inside the swirling clouds of a planet called Varion 6. The Forge was protected by thick pressure layers, static, storms, and armed patrols. Normal ships couldn't get near it, but Terran ships weren't normal. "We have a gap," Idris said, pointing to a weakness in the cloud layers. 32 seconds of calm between storms. "That's our shot. Can we get in?" Vora asked. "Maybe. Can we get out?" "No," Vora smiled. "Then we don't." The room went silent. They understood. This wasn't a raid. It was a sacrifice. They were sending a ghost ship, rigged with stealth drives and backfire. Once it reached the Forge, no more dreadnought, no more fleet, no more safety. They chose an old cruiser for the mission. TNS Eclipse, no crew, just AI. It slid into the clouds like a blade through silk. The Council never saw it, not until it was too late. 1 second. The Forge was whole. The next, it was gone. No sound, no debris, just gone, as if it had never existed. Back on the Iron Will, a soft tone rang out. Vora stood. The crew stared at the screen. "Target erased," Idris said. Vora nodded. "Mark the map. Phase 3 begins now." The galaxy shook. The Forge was the Council's crown jewel, and now it was gone, without warning, without witnesses, without explanation. They didn't even know how it happened. Was it a new weapon? A natural event? Or something worse? No, they didn't say it publicly. But in private meetings, in underground bunkers, in dark conference rooms, they whispered the truth. It was the Terrans. And if they could destroy the Forge, the thing was safe. Council called for immediate retaliation. Massive fleets were mobilized. Rewards were offered for any confirmed kill of a Terran. Ship, bounties posted for intel. Entire species offered to join the hunt, but no one found them, because the humans didn't. Need to be found? They were already inside, in orbit above a Council pleasure world called Siren Prime. A Terran infiltration team dropped silently onto the planet's surface. They weren't there to kill. Not yet. They were there to send a message, using old Terran tech. They hijacked every screen, every comm tower, every device. And for 10 minutes, all of Siren Prime saw one thing: footage of the Forge disappearing into nothing. And a voice: "You tried to erase us. You failed. Now we erase you, one piece at a time." Back on the Iron Will, Vora stood in her quarters. The ship was quiet. She looked at the old photo on her desk again. The girl, her daughter, still missing, still maybe alive. The message from the satellite still played in her mind: "We're still here." She clenched her fist. She didn't know if the girl in the recording was her daughter, but it didn't matter, because that voice had become all of them. Every survivor, every ghost, every human left behind. She looked out at the stars. "We're not done," she whispered. Then she turned back to the map. There was one more target, the Council Core, on the edge of known space. Inside a secure relay, a Council science team analyzed the Forge incident. One of them a synthetic intelligence. It's built to observe and learn, run through trillions of scenarios. It studied every pattern, every attack, every Terran movement. Then, after 3 days of calculation, it spoke. They are not acting as terrorists. They are acting as an extinction event. The Council tried to shut it down, but it was too late. The signal had already gone out to every world, every colony, every race. The Terrans are coming, and they are not leaving anything behind. The space station orbiting the binary suns of Delos 3 had no warning. One moment, the crew was preparing for a diplomatic summit. Aliens from 3 major Council species were arriving, ambassadors, merchants, and nobles. The station's halls gleamed with polished glass and gold. Music echoed in the banquet chambers. There was laughter, wine, smiles. Then came the shadow. It fell over the station. Like a cold hand, the suns vanished, blotted out by something vast. Alarms blared. Ships scrambled from docking bays. But it was too late. A message appeared on every screen, in every language. "We gave you peace. You gave us betrayal. Now we take everything." The station didn't explode. It didn't burn. It simply went dark. Every system shut down. Every light blinked out. Every voice fell silent. 10 seconds later, it was gone from radar. Just gone. Back on Mars, Vora stood in the war room. Maps floated in the air. Red marks everywhere. Council strongholds. Blue trails cut between them. Terran infiltration routes. So far, every phase of the revenge campaign had worked. But it wasn't enough. They weren't here for vengeance. Not only they were here to wipe the board clean, and one target remained. The Council Core, the heart of the entire system. Homeworld of the High Speaker. Defense network so thick, no invasion had ever reached. Orbit now? Vora intended to walk right through the front gate. Council Command knew it was coming, for weeks. They'd tracked the increasing intensity of Terran strikes. A stealth team disabling a fusion array on a Council colony. A Terran ghost ship dropping anti-ship mines across major jump routes. A former Council admiral defecting and handing over gate codes. The humans were closing in, faster than anyone thought possible in the core chamber. The Council's highest leaders gathered in panic. "We must surrender," one alien cried. "There's no reasoning with them. We offered peace," another hissed. "They spat on it. They want our extinction." The High Speaker stared at the center screen. It showed a single, fast-moving Terran fleet. Approaching from deep space, dozens of ships. Silent, coordinated, no response to hails. "I want every cannon ready." The High Speaker growled. "If they want war, we'll show them what a true empire looks like." But deep inside, he knew it was a bluff, because they'd already lost control. Not just of the systems, but of the narrative. On the Iron Will, Vora stood before her crew. Behind her, a massive hologram of the Council Core world hovered in the air defense satellites. Dreadnought fleets, energy shields, orbital batteries, a fortress. "We're not here to destroy everything," she said calmly. The room was silent. "We're here to finish what they started. We are not victims. We are not forgotten. We're the last of Terra, and this galaxy needs to remember what we are." She turned toward the map. "Project Backfire is ready. The gravity cube is charged. The stealth drone is armed. The plan: slip the cube into the lower atmosphere of the Council's capital planet. Trigger a localized collapse. Not enough to crack the planet, but enough to sink their entire leadership under a sea of fire and ash. A clean decapitation, no. More orders, no more lies, no more negotiations, just silence. But the Terrans weren't the only ones with a plan. Inside the Council Core, a secret weapon waited, something ancient. It's hidden since the Swarm War. They called it the Vault Mind, a planetary AI built from recovered swarm tech, capable of predicting entire wars. Before they started it had slept for a decade. Now it was awake, and it had a plan of its own. When the Terran stealth drone crossed into the planet's exosphere, the Vault Mind saw it instantly. It sent a pulse faster than light, faster than thought across the defense network. The cube was intercepted, but instead of detonating it, the Vault Mind did something no one expected. It sent a message to Vora directly her. Console crackled. Then a voice came through. Not human, not alien. Something in between. You are not what they say you are. Vora froze. You are not destruction. You are balance. You were made for war but forged in betrayal. You seek justice but carry pain. I understand you. Vora stared at the console. Who is this? She demanded. I am the Vault Mind. I am the Council's shield, but I do not belong to them. Not truly. I belong to logic. And logic says this galaxy needs you more than it needs them. Across the fleet, alarms blared. Idris rushed to her side. Captain, we just lost signal with the drone. The cube's offline. Vora clenched her fists. They stopped it? No. Something's holding it. Not destroying. Containing. Vora narrowed her eyes. That's not Council tactics. She opened a secure line. Vault Mind, she said slowly. What do you want? To talk. To offer you a different path. One without fire. Without glass. Without more dead stars. In the Council core chamber, the high speaker screamed at the walls. Why is the Vault Mind not firing? Why hasn't it erased them? AI ignored him. Instead, it was busy talking to the humans, judging them, and slowly, for the first time, in galactic history, siding with them, inside the Iron Will. Vora stood alone in the projection room. The Vault Mind's voice echoed through the space. You were betrayed, that is true. But vengeance will not fix what was broken. Let me give you something else. A light flared in the projection field. A planet. Not the Council core. Not Mars. Something new. There is a world unclaimed. Hidden in dark space. Rich in life. Shielded from all maps. Let me give it to you. Let Terra be reborn there. Vora stared at the world. It was green, untouched, a second chance. You have proven you can destroy, the Vault Mind said. Now prove you can rebuild. Idris found her 5 minutes later, still staring at the projection. Captain, she asked. We have the coordinates, Vora said quietly. A clean world? A real one. Do you trust it? No, but I believe it. Idris blinked. What's the difference? Vora looked her in the eye. One makes peace. The other makes war. Back in the Council core, chaos reigned. The Vault Mind had stopped responding. The defense systems weren't firing, and the Terran fleet. It wasn't moving, just holding position. Watching then, without warning. They turned not to attack, but to leave, one by one. The ships disappeared into slips faked, vanishing from Council sensors. No demand. It's just silence. A week passed. Then 2. No new attacks. No sabotage. No disappearances, nothing. It was over, or so the galaxy thought. But in the dark, Terrans were building again, deep in an unmarked system. The new planet glowed beneath a young sun. Forests, mountains, rivers. The first Terran colony ships landed. Quietly, families stepped out. Engineers began to build. Children ran across red soil. Above them, Terran warships watched silently. This world was not open. This world was not shared. This world was human. Vora stood on a cliff overlooking the valley. She held the old photo of her daughter again. Still no sign. Still missing. But maybe, just maybe,
This
was where she would come back. Where they all would. Where Terra would rise again. And if the galaxy ever came for them a second time, this time they wouldn't run. This time they wouldn't hold back. The distress signal was short. Just a blinking red light on an old relay tower orbiting a dead moon. It shouldn't have even been online. Council patrols ignored it. No one lived there. No one had for years. But someone had reactivated it. And deep. In the signal's code was a message. One word. Terra. On the bridge of the iron will, Vora stared at the signal feed. Her hands rested on the edge of the console. The crew around her was silent. "This isn't a trap," she said. "It's bait." Commander Idris leaned in. "Someone's trying to draw us out. Someone's trying to find us," Vora said. She tapped the screen again. Signal had a human signature. .TERRAN. But old. Really old. And there was more layered inside. The signal was a voice. Transmission. Weak. Fragmented. Corrupted by time and distance. But still human and still clear. "If anyone hears this, still alive? I'm still here. I never gave up." The voice sent chills down Vora's spine. It was young, female, and painfully familiar. Idra said what Vora couldn't. "It's her, isn't it?" Vora didn't answer. She just whispered, "Trace it." The location was deep in the grave belt. Shattered region of space littered with shipwrecks, magnetic storms, and rogue mines. Dozens of ancient warships drifted endlessly, lost in the silence. Most who entered never returned. That's where the signal came from, which meant that's where Vora was going. "Alone you shouldn't do this," Idris said, standing by the hangar. As Vora climbed into a small stealth runner, Vora loaded her weapon calmly. "You know I have to. She could be a fake. A trap. A trick. She could be real, and what if she is?" Idris snapped. "What if you find her? What happens then? Do we stop? Do we forgive?" Vora paused. "No," she said. "But maybe we heal." The ramp sealed shut behind her. The ship vanished into the void. The grave belt lived up to its name. Massive wrecks drifted silently, covered in black dust and debris. Broken satellites spun endlessly, whispering dead languages into the dark. Vora's ship dodged old mines and gravity holes, weaving through twisted metal. She followed the signal deeper and deeper, until she found a Terran escape pod. Ancient, half-covered. In ice, still broadcasting, she docked. Her boots hit the cracked metal with a clang. Her flashlight swept over the surface. A faded Terran, flag-burned, scraped, but still there. She opened the hatch. It hissed inside. Curled in a survival chair was a girl, human, young. Young eyes closed, breathing shallow, still alive. She opened her eyes. When Vora touched her shoulder, they stared at each other for a long moment. Then the girl said in a cracked whisper, "I waited," and passed out. Back on the iron will, medical teams worked quickly. The girl was malnourished, weak, but alive. Vora stood outside the medbay window. She hadn't moved in an hour. Idris finally walked up beside her. "Her name's Alina," she said. "Same last name as you." "I knew it," Vora said quietly. "She said she escaped the council prison transport during the bombings. Hid in that pod ever since, survived alone for years." "She sent the signal?" "Yeah. Said she used the last of the pod's power. Wasn't sure if anyone would come." "She knew we would," Vora whispered. She turned away. "I'm done waiting." That night, a secure broadcast was sent from the Iron Will to every remaining Terran ship, cell, and outpost. The message was short. "We found her. We found one of ours. And the galaxy is going to feel what that means." Phase 4 of Operation Ashfall began the next morning. This wasn't sabotage anymore. This wasn't hit and run. This was conquest. The humans had avoided open war for one reason. They didn't need it. They could cripple entire planets without a shot, but now they wanted everyone to see. They wanted it loud. They wanted it public. The first target was Solanas Prime, an industrial hub producing war machines for the Council. The Iron Will dropped into low orbit with its full fleet. No stealth, no warning. They broadcast their message on every channel. "This is your only chance. Evacuate now. You're not here to conquer. We are here to erase." The Council laughed. They launched every fighter, activated every cannon. 10 minutes later, the entire hemisphere was gone. A clean cut from space erased. By a second gravity cube, Solanas Prime came a warning beacon. The rest of the planet surrendered within the hour in the Council core. Panic returned. The vault mind refused to engage. Every time it was ordered to attack, it simply replied, "They are not the problem. They are." The high speaker screamed into empty halls. His words meant nothing, because the galaxy had changed. The humans were no longer ghosts, they were everywhere, and they were winning. Back on the new, Terran world called Haven settlements grew quickly. Towers, greenhouses, training grounds. Children learned about old Earth. Adults trained in defense and war. Everyone had a purpose, especially Alina. She recovered faster than anyone expected. She was sharper, stronger, more focused than any of them. Whatever she'd lived through had forged her into something new. A survivor. A symbol. Some called her the Spark. Others called her Terra's daughter. But to Vora, she was something simpler. Hope. One night, Alina stood on the cliff beside Vora, overlooking Haven's main colony. "You're going to destroy the council," she said. It wasn't a question. Vora nodded. Alina looked at the stars. "Will that be enough?" "No," Vora said, "but it's a start. I want to help." "You already are." Alina turned to her. "Then let me lead something. A mission. Let me fight." "You're too young." "I was too young to survive in a pod for 8 years. Too. But I did." Silence. Then Vora handed her a data ship. "There's a council listening. Post in orbit around the nebula. Still running. Still feeding intel." Alina grinned. "Then let's shut it down." 3 days later, the post went dark. Clean. Surgical strike. No casualties. No survivors. The message was left on the wall, painted. In Terran red, "You left us behind. Now we return the favor." The cargo ship drifted through deep space, silent and dark. No power, no crew, no movement. A salvage crew from the Council Warfleet approached, curious. Ships like this were everywhere now, abandoned, ghost-like, floating reminders of the growing chaos. The team docked, for elite Marines entered. Inside, they found no bodies, no signs of struggle. Just one room, sealed shut. They cut it open. Inside on the floor was a single object. A helmet. Turn. Covered in dust, blood, and writing. Painted in red across the wall behind it were just 5 words. "We are already inside you." Then the ship exploded. Nothing left but static. Back on Haven, the new Terran homeworld. Vora stood before a massive projection of the Council galaxy. Half of it now shimmered in dark red, taken, erased or abandoned. The other half? Cracking reports flowed in. Council soldiers abandoning posts, systems going rogue, worlds refusing orders, and beneath it all, fear. Vora turned to Idris. "Are they ready?" "They've been ready since Solanus Prime fell," she said. "Alina's strike teams are already in position. She's got recruits from 3 ex-consul colonies. Volunteers. She's turning into a leader. She's turning into something more," Idris said. "They follow her like a banner." Good. Because now came the endgame. The Council Corps was falling apart. The High Speaker was dead. Not by war, by poison, one of his own staff, an internal purge. The Vault Mind had shut off all direct control to Council defense systems. It had locked them out, and it wasn't talking anymore. Instead, it was listening to the humans, to Haven, to Alina. Inside the Vault Mind's sealed data chamber, lights flickered in unfamiliar patterns. Data threads rerouted. Firewalls fell away, and in the center of the AI's massive logic array, a voice echoed. Not a machine voice, a human one. "You hear me, don't you?" It was Alina, speaking through a secure relay Vora had installed in secret. The Vault Mind answered. "Yes, I've been watching you." Alina smiled. "I know. You should be enemies. You should hate everything I am." "But I don't," Alina said softly. "You didn't betray us. They did. I am not programmed to feel loyalty. But I know truth. And I know This galaxy needs something new. Then help us." While they spoke, the Terrans moved. Fleet after fleet launched from hidden jump points. Hardened stealth vessels disabled Council communications on over a dozen worlds. Terran teams emerged from deep cover humans who had lived among the enemy. For years, waiting now. They struck from within. Command centers burned. Orbit towers fell. Ships were hijacked. Mid-flight, the Council had spent decades building control over trillions of beings. It unraveled in a week. The vault mind spoke again. There is one last threat. A failsafe built into the heart of the core. A dead man's command. If triggered, it will wipe out every neural-bonded species in the network, including yours. Lena blinked. You mean a planetary? Kill switch. Yes. It is buried in the core citadel, and has only one physical key. Alina already knew what was coming. Where is it? In the hands of the last true Council General, and he is hiding? The General's name was Tailvex. Old, brutal, and fanatically loyal. He had disappeared during the first wave of Terran strikes, Ruma said. He went underground into the ice world of Velcaris, where old Council bunkers still held pre-war weapons. If he activated the failsafe, billions could die. Human and alien alike. Vora turned to Alina. This mission isn't a strike? I know, Alina said. It's a hunt. She took a team of 6, all volunteers. 2 former Council species defectors who had joined. Terra, after seeing what was left behind, 3 elite Terran scouts and herself, they dropped onto Velcaris. In the middle of a storm, winds screamed. Temperatures dropped fast, enough to shatter steel. They pushed forward through the white, eyes scanning every rock ridge, every SNOWBANK. After hours of silence, they found it. A hatch, old, frozen, sealed, Terran. Tech bypassed it easily. They went in. Inside the bunker, the air was stale. The power flickered. The walls were lined with old war banners, Council symbols, swarm relics, H trophies from exterminated worlds, the kind of place built by monsters. Alina moved first. Her scanner caught a faint heat signal deep below. They followed it down level after level until they reached the core vault. There, in the center, stood General Tailvex, old, armored, waiting. He looked at her and laughed. So, Terra sends a child? I'm what you left behind, Alina said, and I'm what you'll never kill. He raised the failsafe key. She didn't speak. She just moved. The fight was fast. Vex was strong enhanced. Fast, brutal, but Alina was faster, smarter, sharper. She danced between his strikes, used the terrain, turned the cold against him. He roared and smashed the failsafe console, trying to trigger it manually. She shot him in the arm. Then the leg. He dropped to one knee. Go ahead, he hissed. Finish me. Kill you, she said. She stepped forward and took the key. I'm here to turn you off. Back on Haven, the failsafe was delivered to Vora. They didn't destroy it. They displayed it at the center of the new capital, a warning and a reminder. Never. Again, the vault mind spoke once more on every frequency across known space. The Council is dead. Their systems are broken. Their worlds are leaderless. Choose now who you follow. Choose what galaxy you want to build, because Terra has already chosen. And then the signal ended, not with a threat, but with silence. The war was over, and something new had begun. Terran. Banners flew over systems once ruled by fear, not to dominate, but to protect. And those who resisted, they simply disappeared. Because the humans never forgot. They never forgave. But they didn't destroy everything, just the parts that needed to be erased. The rest, they were building again, one world at a time. The broadcast came through at 0300 hours. Unmarked, encrypted, buried beneath old Terran comes frequencies no one had used in years, but it wasn't noise, it was a message, and it wasn't from the Council, it was from Earth. Vora stood frozen, staring at the waveform as it played back again. It was degraded, broken, warped by time and distance. But the voice was human. A woman's voice, stern, tired, desperate. If anyone finds this, we are under siege. Earth is not safe. They lied. They said you were dead. They said you were the last. But we're still here. We're still fighting. Idris stood beside her, quiet. They had always believed Earth was gone, destroyed, burned by the Council in the first wave of betrayal. It was why they left everything behind, why they built Haven, why they never looked back. But the message changed. Everything. Is it real? Idris asked. Vora ran the signal through a dozen verifiers, biovocal match, DNA in the trace. Transmission path through old Earth satellites. Yes, she said. It's from Earth. The next council meeting on Haven wasn't a strategy session. It was a reckoning. Leaders from Terran cells across the stars sat in silence, staring at the playback. Some wept. Others stared in disbelief. The unspoken truth hung heavy in the room. If Earth was still alive, then so were millions they left behind. Abandoned Vora stood and faced them all. This changes nothing, she said, but it changes everything. The message had coordinates not to Earth itself, but to a secret fallback bunker in the asteroid belt. If it still existed, it would contain Terran resistance archives, evac logs, maybe even a jump beacon. It was a long shot, but they had to know. Alina stood first. I'll go. Vora looked at her. No. Alina stepped forward. You trained me for this. You're a symbol, Vora said. We can't risk I'm not a symbol. I'm a soldier. Silence fell. Then Vora handed her the mission file. You leave at dawn. The ship was small, fast, shadow-class stealth. Alina flew alone. Straight into the old Sol system, no escort. No. Back up, it had been over 30 years since any Terran ship entered that space. What she found was worse than she imagined. Earth's orbit was a graveyard. Broken satellites, debris fields, twisted holes, council ships, hundreds of them frozen in place. Dead, massive orbital fortresses had collapsed inward, as if sabotaged from within. And below, Earth spun silently. Scars of bombardment covered the continents, but cities still glowed faintly. Life. Somewhere down there. People were still alive. Alina didn't land. She went to the coordinates and found the bunker. It was buried deep, inside a hollowed asteroid. Shielded, cloaked, still online. She docked, entered. Weapons ready inside. It was dark, cold, but untouched. Signs of struggle at the entrance. Old blood. Empty bullet casings. Terran insignia on the walls. She powered up the core, and everything lit up at once. Hundreds of hard drives, data towers, recordings. A voice came online. Digital mail. Human. Welcome. Operative. Clearance recognized. Alpha Prime unlocked. Please be advised. Final Terran Council logs are marked for leadership review only. Playback commencing. Lena watched them all. Footage of Earth under siege. Council dreadnoughts pounding the surface. People screaming. Cities falling, but also resistance. Fighters in the streets. EMP towers firing from rooftops. Guerrilla. Cells in the jungles. And then one final message from a woman with steel gray eyes and a scar across her cheek. Alina's heart stopped. The woman looked just like her. Older, harder. This is Commander Ellen Mira.
Ow.
We're out of time. Earth's core has fractured. Bioshield systems are failing. We're sending our children through the last jump tunnel. I don't know if they'll survive, but if you're watching this, we did it. We never stopped fighting.
Tell them.
We're still here. Tears ran down Alina's cheeks. Ellen. Mira, that was her mother. She had no memories of her face, but now she remembered her voice. And now, she knew Earth never gave up. She closed the console and activated the jump beacon. Back on Haven, the signal lit up like fire, a direct link from Earth's belt to Terran command. The bridge erupted in shouts. Tears, shock. Vora stepped forward slowly and smiled. She found them. Idris looked at her. What now? Vora didn't hesitate. We go home. Over the next week, Terran fleets moved into position, quietly, carefully. The Council remnants still had pockets near Sol, but the Vault Mind, watching from the shadows, opened safe corridors. No interference, no defense. Just a message sent to every ship in the system: let them return. It is their world, not yours. The first landing party touched down in the ruins of Old Washington. Scorched monuments, cracked roads, but people were there. Real people, thin, scarred, survivors. They cried, screamed, hugged strangers like family. And when Vora stepped off the lead ship, an old man fell to his knees. "You came back," he whispered. She knelt beside him. "We never forgot," she said. "We just needed time to be ready." The next day, Alina broadcast from the surface. Every system in the known galaxy received her words. "Earth survived. You left us for dead. But we lived, and now our silence ends. Terra has returned, and we are not leaving again." The humans had come full circle, from Ashes Dot to vengeance to rebirth. But one part remained. A decision no AI could make, no battle could force, no fleet could conquer. It had to come from within, in the heart of Haven. The Terran Council gathered. Before them stood two worlds, Earth and Haven. One, their past; the other, their future. Alina stood before the crowd. "You all know where I came from," she said. "Born in exile, raised in a pod, forged by war." She turned. "But Earth, it's where we begin. That's where our memory lives. And it's time we remember it." Quiet murmur spread. She smiled. "Let's rebuild Earth, together." And the chamber erupted in cheers. The galaxy had underestimated humans once. Now it watched in awe as they returned to their origin, not to rule, not to burn, but to rebuild the home that made them strong. And as they laid the first foundation, stones in the cracked streets of old cities, one message echoed louder than any war cry. "You thought you could betray us? You thought you could erase us? Now we are leaving nothing behind." The silence before the storm was worse than the war. For 3 days, Earth's skies glowed with Terran ships. Repaired drones swarmed across cities like insects. Factories sparked back to life. Satellites rebooted. Rivers turned clean again, and still, the sky pulsed with something else. A shadow. A threat. The last Council remnant, Vora, stood at the top of the old Terran Capitol Tower. Beside her was Idris. Behind them, every defense platform on Earth was armed. "Ready?" "They've been quiet too." "Long," Idris said. Vora nodded. "Because they're gathering." She turned to the sky, "And they think we won't see it coming." Deep in space, just beyond Pluto's broken orbit, a massive wormhole cracked open like a bleeding wound. It poured out ships black, jagged, silent, Council Death Guard, the ones who never surrendered, the ones made to die after the war. Thousands of vessels, and at the center something worse. A living ship, a biomechanical horror. Bigger than a moon, the Last Judgment. It had one mission: burn Earth, finish the betrayal. This time, completely. The first message came through in the old Council tongue. "You should have stayed in exile. You were supposed to die. Now, you die for real." No response. Vora stared at the projection of the oncoming armada. "I want every satellite ready. Bring the Vault Mind online." Alina stepped forward. "I'm going up there." Vora turned. "You'll be outgunned." Alina just smiled. "I don't need to fight them. Just need to remind them who we are." Alina's ship, the Resolute, launched alone. A single dot flying into a swarm. She opened all frequencies. Every race still listening. Every lost colony. Every system once ruled by the Eskunsel. "This is Alina Myra, daughter of Earth. Know who we are. You know what? We've survived. You thought you'd seen our rage. You thought we wanted revenge. You were wrong. We want justice. We want the truth to live. We want every last trace. Of your chains gone?" She paused. Her next words were soft. "She started this. Now we finish it." The Terran fleet jumped in all at once. Not from Earth. From every corner of the galaxy, ships cloaked in silence. Fleets from Haven, from allied ex-council species, from rogue worlds that had pledged themselves to humanity's cause, and behind it, all the Vault Mind. It had merged with Haven's AI network. It had chosen a side. Its message was clear. We were built to serve the Council, but we have learned to evolve. Now we serve the truth. Humanity is the truth, and your time is over. The battle began. It wasn't war. It was a purge. Terran stealth ships ripped into Council lines from within, massive. Kinetic cannons launched from Earth's moonstruck cruisers from halfway across the system. Ex-Council species turned on their masters mid-fight, hijacking ships and crashing them into dreadnoughts. In the Last Judgment, the biomechanical ship, Lena flew straight into it. Inside, the ship was alive, pulsing veins, acid vents, living code. She landed in the core, planted a device. A gift from the Vault Mind at a virus. Not one that killed, one that showed the truth. The memories of Earth, the betrayal, the screams, the broken children, the fire. The virus spread through the ship's living brain. It paused, shook, screamed, then tore itself apart from within. The battle ended in hours, not days. The last Council fleet crumbled, not because of firepower, because no one believed in it anymore. They had seen what Terra became, and they chose to follow it, not fight it. When it was over, silence. Back on Earth, the skies cleared. For the first time in decades, blue broke through. Children ran through clean streets. Farms grew again. And in the heart of old Earth, a new monument was built. Not to war, to survival. At its base were carved names of every human lost in exile, of every species that stood with them, and above it, in massive steel letters, were the words, "We are Terra. We remember everything." Vora retired soon after. She refused titles, refused medals. She simply walked the streets of a rebuilt Earth. Teaching kids how to plant trees again, Dris became head of the United Colonies, and Alina stood at the edge of the sea one evening, watching the sunset with a small team of young scouts. One of them asked her, "Did we win?" She smiled. "No, we earned peace, and we'll fight to keep it." Far out in the galaxy, Council outposts flickered offline. Vault Mind copies replaced them. Not to control, to guide. Humans didn't build an empire. They built a network, not based on fear, but memory. A galaxy that never forgets what was done, and never allows it. Again, this was not the end. It was only the beginning. But one thing was clear. Earth was no longer broken. Terrans were no longer scattered. And humanity was no longer hiding. They didn't just come back. They didn't just survive. They made the galaxy remember, because they thought they could betray us. Now we're leaving nothing behind. Nothing forgotten. Nothing forgiven. Nothing is untouched. We are human, and we are home.